And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harvey versus Jensen. Come on.
22-year-old Sean Harvey is suing his uncle, Paul Jensen, for non-payment of services rendered. Sean claims Paul owes him for 3 weeks of work.
Mr. Harvey, this is your uncle through marriage.
Correct.
He is the husband of your aunt, and it is your claim that you went to work for him in a construction job. You have a girlfriend. I assume this is your girlfriend, and you also have a young baby.
Correct.
And that he paid you by check $2,000 for work that you did, and then stopped payment on the check. You want your $2,000.
Right.
That's your case. Mr. Jensen says you didn't do $2,000 worth of work, that the $2,000 check he gave you was a loan to sort of get you on your feet, and you became disrespectful, so he put a stop payment on the check.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Jensen, when did you first, and under what circumstances, give Mr. Harvey a job?
It was during a family discussion. We were at my wife's mother's house, I believe, Your Honor. And it was
When?
the end of April, first part of May.
And what was the discussion?
The fact that Sean needed a job and that I was willing to employ him.
Was he there?
Yes.
Did you discuss salary?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And what was the salary?
$20 per hour.
And how many days a week and how many hours a day was he supposed to work?
It was a 5-day, for 8 hours per day.
Okay. When did you first show up for work, Mr. Harvey?
Do you want me to answer that exact question, or I just... He had come
That
up...
exact question. That's what I'm here for. Listen.
The first day for work, he told me I was on the books at $20 an hour, whether I was working or not. We had a lot of rain.
Would you answer my question?
The first day of work was the Monday after Easter. That was my first day that I was on the books for.
I don't care what you say you were on the books for. I said, what was your first day of work? Now, you knew you were coming to court. You're the plaintiff. It is your claim that this $2,000 was for work you performed, correct?
Correct.
Then you have to come with some information, Mr. Harvey. A tie doesn't do it. You have to come in and say, I started working on May 5th, on May 7th. I worked for so many weeks, $20 an hour, 8 hours a day, 3 weeks. This was my pay. Do you understand? Now, do you need time and a calendar to figure out when you started to work?
I did ask for a calendar previous to come.
Well, then go get it, because I am losing my patience with you fast. You're supposed to come prepared. Out! Go! What do they think they're supposed to do when they come to court to prepare? Pick out clothes?
For some, that's the extent of it.
A piece of paper would be nice. All right, Mr. Harvey, let's go.
Okay.
On what day did you begin working?
April, on Tuesday the 18th of 2006.
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
Well, when did he start?
He came to the job site on Friday, May 19th.
I have a check that he wrote me on May 13th, so I don't know why he would say that I came on the 19th.
May 13th, in what amount?
For $2,000, because I had been working previous. He says that my first day was...
No. Because that's his defense, sir. He says that this $2,000 was a loan to you so that you, your girlfriend, and your baby could get on your feet. Now, what I want to know from you, Mr. Harvey, is when, for the first time, did you show up?
Tuesday. I had a problem with my car on Monday, and I wasn't able to show up. I did show up the next day.
He says it was a month later, after Easter. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor, and I remember it very well because my wife and I were married on May 4th. Her nephew did not start physically working for us until after we were married.
Stand up. This is your nephew?
Yes.
Are you involved at all in the business?
I work sometimes with my husband.
Do you know whether or not your nephew was working for him prior to your getting married?
No, we didn't start work until after we were married.
How many days in total, Mr. Harvey, did you work for Mr. Jensen?
Real days that I was actually there?
Yeah.
6.
Well, if you worked 6 days and you got paid for those 6 days, it would have been $960. Where do you get $2,000 from?
From when him telling me that no matter if I worked those days or not, rain or shine, because we had a lot of rain in May, he told me I was getting paid on those days. He came up to my Nana's house on Easter and told my Nana, my grandfather, I would have flown my Nana out here as a witness, but she has epilepsy. She wouldn't come on the plane. So that's where I figured in, and I kept asking him.
You didn't finish your sentence, sir. That you were at Easter, you were with your Nana, and he said what?
He said he's going to pay me $20 an hour starting on the following Monday, but I couldn't show up that Monday, so I came Tuesday. So I worked for about a month, and I was asking, where's my check?
You worked 6 days.
But like sporadically. There was
you
days
don't
I
get paid
couldn't
when you don't work, sir. How old are you?
22. This is what I was told. He told my family.
Listen
told
to me. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. You mean if you decide not to show up? What are you, part of the mafia?
No.
You get one of those jobs where you don't show up for work?
It's what he
you don't
said.
You don't show up for work, you get paid anyway?
No.
You got to get a life, sir. You made a baby. You got to get a life.
She was pregnant at the time. I was looking for an
Well,
apartment.
that's not a life. There are other sports.
I was looking.
You're not supposed to get somebody pregnant when you don't have a way to support a child. But you don't say to this man, listen, you're going to give me $20 an hour, 8 hours a day, whether I show up or not, whether I work or not, because I need the money.
I didn't say that. You're right. He told me.
Well.
And he told my whole family this, not just me.
Listen to me. When you're 22 years old, you're supposed to work. You're supposed to work.
That's all I wanted to do.
Then get a job where you work. Don't show up 6 days a month and expect to get paid, sir.
Your Honor, may I add something?
Go ahead.
The very first day he could not show up because his car was not operable. That was understandable to me. What wasn't understandable to me, which was one of the reasons that I did not want to even entertain the idea of employing him any longer, was that he was at my parents' house where we met to go to work to the next job. My wife went in, spoke to Sean about him bringing her back to Salisbury. He came out and spoke to me. He was upset about it.
What was he upset about?
That his aunt wanted him to take her back to Salisbury instead of him going to work.
Was he going to get paid for doing that?
Well, if I could continue with the story. During that time, it was agreed upon that he would take her back, which he did. Later, my wife called my cell phone at the job site, saying that she was going to come to the job site and work with me for the rest of the day. Her nephew, Sean, drove her to the job site. My wife got out of his vehicle. As I approached the vehicle to talk to Sean, Sean did a U-turn in the street and drove off without talking to me. If he had showed up at the job site like he did and gotten out and at least talked to me, I would have expected him to finish the rest of the day working. Yes, he would have got paid for that day because that was my
well,
circumstance.
That's conjecture, sir, and that's something you can't expect him to read your mind.
Right.
Go ahead.
But I wasn't even able to discuss this with him because
he acted like a baby.
As soon as my wife exited the car, he did a U-turn and left.
Okay. Who has the check?
I do.
Can I see it?
Sure. There you go.
So this is a business check.
Yes.
Why would you make him a personal loan on your business, sir?
Because that is the only account I had at the time.
Oh.
It was a DBA account, Massachusetts Paul Jensen DBA, PJ Construction.
PJ Custom Construction.
Right.
That's a business check. On what day, Mr. Jensen, did you cancel the check?
It was, again, approximately towards the end of May, Your Honor.
How much after the incident with your wife did you cancel the check?
I would expect it was during the first week after that.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes, Your Honor.
I agree with you, sir, that this money was given to you on May the 13th. He did not cancel the check until after there was an incident with his wife. He didn't like your attitude, so he decided to cancel the check when, according to his answer, he discovered that you hadn't cashed it yet.
Sorry.
You have to understand something, sir. You're a baby. You're 22 years old. If you go to court and it sounds to you, because you've got your listening ears on, that you're winning, you're just supposed to stand there very quietly.
Okay.
Before you put your... Notice what you want to do. Go ahead. Okay. Go. You want to say something?
No, I want you to finish.
Now you're getting smart. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Justice was served. I mean, I got what I was supposed to be paid.
Being a family member, I'm hoping that this will help to close the rift that exists between us.
I haven't even known him for a year. I mean, he just met my aunt and they eloped.
We think things to different extremes, I guess.
He's not family to me.
Did not expect it to turn out to something like this.
I don't have any problem with Paul anymore.
He's my family, and I love him.
I have no hard feelings against him, never did. It's just a misunderstanding.
Judge Judy's a tough woman, but she gave me my money.
John Allen is suing his ex-friend, Karen Stevenson, for a loan to keep her from going to jail. Karen claims the loan never took place.
All rise. Yes, case number 472 on the calendar in the matter of Allen versus Stevenson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Allen, it is your claim that the defendant borrowed some money from you. She's a former girlfriend of yours. Ms. Stevenson says that you're a con guy. She never borrowed any money from you. She doesn't know what you're talking about. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go.
Okay. Yes, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and we decided to part ways, and we remained friends. On about the middle of September, about a week before I actually loaned her the money, she called me in desperation and said Lisa had taken a checkbook that no longer existed, a checking account, wrote a check out for $1,800. She needed money, that the bank was pressing charges, and
she wrote out a bad check?
Yes, Lisa.
Is Lisa here?
No.
Where is she?
She lives in Florida.
Who does she live with in Florida?
Herself.
What does she do for a living?
She's a cashier.
Ever been arrested?
No.
Ever been charged with a crime?
Lisa? No.
Lisa?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
So at the time, when she called me, she said, I need this money. If I don't pay this $1,800 back.
For Lisa?
For Lisa, they're going to arrest me because it was drawn on my bank account. So...
Oh, just a minute. Where do you live?
Salisbury, Maryland.
You live in Maryland, and somehow Lisa got hold of one of her old checkbooks.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa forged a check for $1,800.
Yes.
But there was no longer an account.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa cashed a check in Florida.
Somewhere, I don't know actually, when she said, but it was a check written on this account, and it bounced, so the bank was going to press charges, and if she didn't pay the money back, they were going to put her in jail.
Put who in jail?
Karen.
It's not true.
She didn't write a bad check.
Well, that's what she told me, ma'am.
That sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
I mean, doesn't that sound ridiculous? How old are you?
I'm 40, be 42 in March, ma'am.
42. What do you do for a living?
I have a few businesses. I'm going back to school, getting my real estate degree, and
What kind of businesses do you have?
I have a business running a company. I started in 1990.
What does it make? What does it do?
Well, I buy and resell food as like a Cisco or a U.S. food service.
You do that now?
No, right now I am in the process of going back to school. The company...
So now you don't do anything?
No, the company still exists. I'm collecting my accounts receivables and stuff like that. Yes, ma'am. I'm still in the process. I have real estate I'm selling. I do various different things.
Who do you live with?
I live with my brother right now. I'm in the process of selling my real estate, my home.
You're in the
yes.
process of doing an awful lot, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you in the process of going through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am.
Did you go through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Did you ever apply for a bankruptcy?
No,
Did you
ma'am.
ever consult with a lawyer about a bankruptcy?
Yes, I have.
When?
I consult with my lawyer in August, September, October, just discussing...
September of 2006?
Yes, ma'am.
About the same time that she was asking for some money?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why would you consult with an attorney about a bankruptcy, sir?
I'd just gone through a divorce. That the settlement of property had to be dispersed. I had loans with my company, just seeking my different options, out there. It was discussed, but it was never gone through. I'm in the process of selling my assets to pay debts. That was my choice to do it that way. I want to make sure all of my bills are paid. That's why I'm selling my home, other real estate. I have a $1.5 million piece of business real estate that I'm in the process of selling.
What's the mortgage on it?
$790,000.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in June of '04.
In whose name is it?
It's in my company's name.
Which is?
Paradise Produce Company Incorporated.
Who else is a partner in Paradise Produce?
Nobody. I'm 100% owner.
You're current on your mortgage payments?
Not at this time, no. They are in the process of being sold right now.
Is there a contract for the sale of the property?
Yes, there is a contract for the sale of the property. It's pending on other things, that's going on in the community. So,
You got a lot going on in your life, Mr.
Yes, ma'am, I do. I'm a very active man.
You're got a lot going on.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so she asked you for this $1,800, and what did you do, sir? I just wanted to get a sense, because I have to figure out who's pulling my leg and who's not.
I wrote her this check out from one of my bank accounts. I have numerous bank accounts because I have personal things, business things, and all that. And I actually wrote it out to her name and put loan on the memo. I handed this check to her on September 26th, and she took it, and I said, you can go right down the road and cash this check at my bank.
Where did you give it to her?
I gave it to her in the shopping center parking lot. I met her in Del Mar, Delaware, on the Delaware side. So that night, she called me back. She says, well, I don't think I can cash this check. I've lost my license, and I don't have a current checking account. I said, well, you can go right to the bank and cash this. I said, I made it out to you, and there's money in the checking account. She said, no, I'd rather you go to the bank and cash a check. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I said, but I would need this other check back. So the next day, I went to Lori. This is my witness, Lori Collins. Can I bring her forward, Judge? Or?
Who are you?
I'm a friend of John's.
What kind of a friend?
Close family friend for over 30 years.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went by Lori's house. I discussed it with Lori. I said, Lori, I'm going to probably loan some money. I have loaned some money. She wants me to take the check back and go to the bank and cash the check and give her the $1,800. And Lori said, well, just make sure that you keep this check here, the first check, if she gives it back to you.
First check is of no value.
Right.
Unless I can test for fingerprints on it.
Right. And then the second check is I wrote her name in the memo that I cashed this check. Here's
Yeah,
the
well,
legal.
that's what you wrote.
And I went to the
You
bank.
cashed the check and wrote her name in the memo.
Right. So I told Lori, I said, Lori, I have loaned this lady some money. I said, as a friend, I just wanted somebody to know that I had loaned her the money.
Was she there when you gave her the money?
No, ma'am.
Good, sit down.
And at the time I wrote the check out, I have bank accounts with different amount of figures in it. You know, right now, $25,000 on this. If I needed it, she claims that I needed the money for myself. I don't need it.
Just show me the account where you took out the $1,800.
Yes, right there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pool tables, big screen TV, living room furniture, kitchen furniture, all that stuff has been auctioned off.
They've been auctioned off by whom?
An auctioneer.
And later today,
The only money that's owed is owed for the television.
Not entirely.
Most of it is for the television.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah, right.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Allen claims former friend Karen Stevenson owes for a loan of $1,800.
Okay.
Your Honor, he states that the first check that he wrote me, he had $1,800 in that account. That's the check he first gave me. I subpoenaed his bank records. $1,800 was not in there. He had
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. He had $72.79 in that account.
Let me see. Can I see that check, please? Sir, you wrote her a check on 9/26 for $1,800. You didn't have $1,800 in that account.
Right.
On which you wrote this $1,800 check.
Right.
Well, why would you write her an $1,800 check and tell her to go?
Because I was going to make a deposit in the account. I moved money from different checking accounts. I have interest-bearing accounts with my business and everything like that. I move money when I need money to pay bills like in the
but you
business.
didn't move any money here, sir. You didn't move any money here. 3 days later...
She gave me the check back because she said that she couldn't cash it.
I understand that.
Because she did not have a
listen
license.
to me.
Yes, ma'am.
That was not the same day, sir. You already testified. It was the next day that she called you and said, I don't have a driver's license,
ma'am.
and therefore I can't cash this check.
Right.
Now, you had already told her to go and cash the check, which she could have done on 9/26.
That's right. That's right.
Okay? On 9/26, if she went to your bank,
Yes, ma'am.
and deposited that check, they would not have cashed that check because there was no balance in
They
that
could have
account.
moved the money from my business account, which is with the same bank, to cover my overdraft.
There's no overdraft privilege in here.
I'm sorry. I did lend this lady some money.
Go ahead.
He also says he gave me the $1,800. I was leaving that day to go out of town for a wedding. I was running around getting my nails done, my hair done. He didn't give me $1,800.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, let's start out with the conversation that you had with him about Lisa.
There was no conversation about Lisa. He knows she was in town for maybe a week or two. She moved back to Florida. I don't have a checking account. I don't have any checks. I haven't had a checking account in 3 years.
So you never had a discussion with him about a loan?
No.
Never had a discussion with him about giving you any money?
No.
Why do you think he would make up this convoluted story?
Your Honor, his business account had been frozen because he owes so many people money, okay? He couldn't even make payroll. John and I continued to talk. We were good friends. He wanted me to help him take the money out of his county bank and put in a safety deposit box, put in my name, and he wanted to put the cash in there so they couldn't touch that money. Then I told him I didn't want to be involved in that because they're going to want to know where this $21,000 is. I didn't want that in my name. I didn't want any part of that. He tried to get several people to do that, and I wouldn't do it.
So what you're saying is he tried to get several people to accept checks.
Yes.
From him.
Yes.
And squirrel away the money.
Yes.
In the event he decided to go through this with this bankruptcy.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
I mean, he says in one statement that I was supposed to pay him back in 2 weeks. John and I continue to be friends. He had a surprise birthday party for his brother. I was invited.
Don't tell me. Just tell me about the money.
There was no money.
Okay. When you told him that you didn't want to participate in this scheme,
yes,
what did he say to you?
That he had a couple other people that were thinking about taking the money and putting it in a safety deposit box, storing his personal property so it wouldn't be auctioned off, which it has been.
What personal property did he want to store with you?
Pool tables, big screen TV, four-wheeler, living room furniture, kitchen furniture, I mean, bedroom suits. He had a 2-story house fully furnished. All that stuff has been auctioned off.
They've been auctioned off by whom?
An auctioneer.
At whose?
I guess at his request. I really don't know. I know that his house was for sale.
Did you have an auction?
Yes, ma'am, I did. To pay my debts and everything. The pool table, big screen TV, all that stuff was auctioned off to pay debts that I incurred during the divorce. I am in process of selling 2 pieces of property, a business piece of property, all my assets to pay my debts. I am not filing for bankruptcy. I am
Well,
going to
it's
be
a little
paying.
more difficult now to file for bankruptcy,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, because what you're suggesting to me is if you own a piece of property that's worth $1.5 million and you have a $790,000 mortgage,
Yes, ma'am.
if you file for bankruptcy, you're not going to see any of that money.
Yes, ma'am.
So in order to see any of that money, if you pay off your creditors now, then you'll be able to maybe walk away with a couple $100,000.
No, ma'am, I'm not going to walk away with anything. My assets are about $2.2 million. I owe about $2.1. So, time I pay auctioneers, realtors, all that stuff.
So it doesn't pay for you. So you have assets of $2 million and you have debts of about the same. So you can't go into bankruptcy. That doesn't mean you're bankrupt. It just means that you have to go to work. My problem, Mr. Allen, is you seem to be a businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Business people, you have mortgages, you have attorneys, you have all kinds of other things. And you're not unfamiliar with court.
Yes, ma'am.
So here you come to a court and you say, I made a loan to this lady. Put your hand down. I made a loan to this lady. I did not memorialize that loan in any way. This check is of no value.
Right.
Because she never endorsed it. I can take out my checkbook and write out a check to Petrie Hawkins Bird in the amount of $10,000 and say, I gave him this check.
Right.
He gave it back to me, and I gave him the $10,000 in cash. And this is some evidence that I gave him that money, right?
Right.
I didn't give you any money to that. No. So this is evidence of nothing.
Right.
The only evidence that it is, sir, is that she subpoenaed this bank account, which says at the time you allegedly wrote this check out to her, you didn't have sufficient money to cover the check in the bank.
Right.
Now, you did have another bank.
Yes, ma'am.
Where you could have written a check that would have cleared.
Right.
As a matter of fact, according to you, you did just that 3 days later. You didn't go to this bank where you could have moved money around. You went to this bank where you took out $1,800. All of this leaves me with a very uneasy feeling, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I have a very uneasy feeling, sir, the fact that you brought a witness that says that you told her all about this loan is of no value. So, Mr. Allen, it is possible, just possible, that you loaned her $1,800.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You understand my problem with your proof, sir?
I understand. I understand.
Are you sympathetic with me, sir?
Yes.
Good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'm not very happy about it, but it's $1,800 lesson, I guess, and not loan money to friends who are supposed to be your friend.
He doesn't like my boyfriend.
People that are scammers will scam, and she'll continue to scam the rest of her life.
They were good friends, and I'm not dating John anymore. I'm dating a friend of his.
I really don't want to be associated with people like that.
It just didn't work out, but I'm better off without him in my life.
People should watch out for a lady like her, because she is a scammer.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Chatterley versus Leva, step forward, please.
Marie Chatterley is suing 23-year-old Desiree Leva for failure to pay for a purebred pug. Desiree claims Marie has been harassing her.
Miss Chatterley, according to your complaint, you were selling your pug puppy, and you advertised for the puppy. The defendant answered the ad, came to your house, spoke to your husband. You the husband?
Yes.
Stand up, please. The defendant came to the house. You were there, sir, on what date?
July the 9th.
And did she take the puppy?
Yes, she did.
What was the asking price for the puppy?
It was $500, but we agreed on $450 to be delivered the following date.
Why did you let her take the puppy without any money?
Well, when she came, she indicated she was a single mother with 2 small children, been through some turmoil, and I felt sorry for her. So I was trying to be accommodating and helpful. That's why I agreed on $450 to be paid the following Friday, which she agreed to do.
Okay. And the following Friday came, and she did not pay the money.
That is correct.
Why?
The agreement that he just stated, that's not how it was. He had told me that I could make monthly payments of $50 to $60. And I had called him and told him I couldn't make it because I had a doctor's appointment I had to go to. And he said that it would be fine to call him later in the week.
Listen. I read your answer. And your answer says, well, I didn't make an arrangement with her. I made an arrangement with the husband.
Mm-hmm.
I took the dog because I wanted to see if the dog fit in with the rest of my family. And then I ran into some financial difficulties, and I couldn't pay for the dog right away. And then she started calling and harassing me, and she called me 42 times to either return the dog or pay the money. And because of her actions, I'm not paying for the dog, and I'm not returning the dog. Wrong!
I didn't say I wouldn't pay for the dog. I don't think I owe her for the dog.
Listen, did you pay for the dog?
No.
Then the dog goes back to them.
Okay.
Fine. Great.
Fine.
You want the dog back?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Why not?
That breed of dog didn't work with that other dog we already had at home.
What kind of dog do you have?
Yorkshire Terrier, a 3.5-pound Yorkie. And we had our Lola for 2 weeks, and it was too aggressive with our other dog. So that's when we decided.
Well, they're not aggressive. They're adorable. I
They
love
are.
pugs.
They are adorable.
I love pugs. They're spirited. They're like clowns.
They were playfully. She was playfully too aggressive with our other dog, and she ripped her ear off, and she was just.
By accident. I mean, she wasn't
I'm
hurt.
sure.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Playfully, yes, Your Honor.
How old is she now?
She was born February 22nd, ma'am.
How does she fit in with the rest of your family?
Everybody loves her. My kids play with her. I mean, I've never seen an aggressive bone in her body.
Well, just a second. How much money have you given her for the dog?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Well, that's outrageous, madam.
Yes, but I made agreements with Steve
I don't care
Chatterley.
what agreements you made. You have paid nothing for this dog. And if they didn't sue you, you would have continued to pay nothing.
No,
You're
ma'am.
a scam artist.
No, ma'am. No.
Yeah,
He
you
agreed
are.
to me. No, ma'am. He agreed that I told him I could not pay for the dog and I would bring it back. He told me he could not take the dog back at the time and that if I bred her to bring him a puppy or the money off of a
Did
puppy.
you say that to her?
No, I did not agree to that. She offered that, but as...
She offered to breed the dog and give you a puppy instead.
Yes.
And the money, too.
No, Your Honor.
Well, and the money, but later it was just the...
But later on, it was just the breeding. So
Yes.
she was trying to get away without giving you any money.
Yes.
It's exactly what she was trying to do. I never heard of such a thing. You go for a dog, somebody who's... Where do you live, sir?
In Spanish Fork, Utah.
God, must be really kind, gentle people in this country that I don't know about, right? I never knew anybody that let you take a dog. I'd say take it home. See how it fits in with the rest of your family. If it's okay, then you pay me. If not, you can bring it back. Oh, I took it home, and it really likes my family, but I can't pay you. Well, that's okay, because, you know, you're a single mom, you have young children. I don't know people like that. Maybe it's growing up in a hardcore city that makes you like that. You have to pay for the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. If you wanted the dog back, I would have given you the dog back. But since you don't, and it appears to
Your
be
Honor.
just fine.
Your Honor.
What?
There were some expenses that we have to look for an address for her on the internet.
Yep.
So she could be served
So?
for $62, and the money that the constable had to serve her home twice because the first time she told the constable she didn't live there.
I only talked to them once.
That's $100 on top of
I think you're absolutely right. I think she should cover those expenses. Modified judgment, $550. That's
you,
all.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
You may step
Did the
out.
wrong thing.
No, I felt like I owed him a puppy and I was definitely going to bring them a puppy.
I felt that, as implied there was a scam developing here.
But I feel if he had discussed the matter with his wife, we wouldn't be here
We
today.
appreciate Judge Judy's compassion and sensitivity on our behalf in settling this matter.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Beverly versus Mayo. Step forward.
Pamela Beverly is suing the mother of her daughter's schoolmate, Rhonda Mayo, for medical bills and pain and suffering. Pamela claims 12-year-old Jessica Mayo injured her daughter at school.
Miss Beverly, this case really involves your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't there when this incident happened, but it is your claim that the defendant's daughter injured your daughter. You want her to pay the medical bills.
Yes, ma'am.
But you weren't there. You don't know. Let's have the girls up and the mom seated, please. Tell me your name.
Crystal Beverly.
How old are you, Crystal?
13. Jessica May, I'm 12 years old.
Okay, Crystal, why don't you tell me when this happened? What date?
I think March 27th.
Were you friends?
Yes.
How long have you been friends?
Since the first day of school.
So since September?
Yes.
And this was March, so you've been friends for a long time?
Yes, ma'am.
You like each other?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me what happened.
We were walking down to the bus for dismissal, and when we were stopping off the sidewalk, she had booty bumped me, and I fell.
Now, what is a booty bump?
It's when you bump somebody with your butt, you go like this.
Just like that?
Yes, if she did it harder, and then that caused me to fall.
Show me.
We were walking, and then when I stepped down from the sidewalk, she went like that, and I fell. And then she walked over to the sign that said Crittenton, and I laid there crying, and then one of my other friends came up to school and helped me get to the bus.
That's okay.
And you had to have surgery on your kneecap?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's hear your version of what happened.
We were coming down the stairs of the school in the afternoon. We were going to the bus stop. Then I gave her a booty bump, and we were still talking and laughing and walking. Then she tripped over her own footstep.
That's not true.
So you're telling me that you gave her a booty bump?
Yes.
You went like that?
Yes.
You weren't angry with her?
No.
And you continued to talk?
Yes, we were still talking and laughing and walking.
And it was later that she fell?
Yes, and she fell over her own foot.
Would you step up, please? Miss Beverly, I want you to tell me the exact conversation you had with your daughter when she got home.
It was on March the 24th, Your Honor, and she told me that they were walking to the bus stop and Jessica booty bumped her and she fell on her knee. I thought it was just a bad sprain, so I didn't take her to the emergency room until the day after.
You have the medical report, please?
Just the medical report.
What were your unreimbursed medical expenses?
It was $1,083.
All right, Miss Mayo, why don't you stand up with your daughter?
Your Honor, may I say something else?
Yes.
The day after I came from the emergency room, before I spoke to Miss Mayo, I spoke to Jessica to see where the story's the same. Jessica told me the exact same thing. She booty bumped Crystal, and she fell and hurt her knee.
Is that right?
That's not true.
Okay. You have anything you want to say to me?
Yes, ma'am. When Jessica had told me that her and Crystal were playing at the bus stop and that Crystal had fallen, I said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." I didn't know how serious it was until after Mrs. Beverly spoke with me on the phone. And she did tell me that Jessica and Crystal were playing and Crystal fell.
Well, they were. There's no question in my mind that your daughter did not intend to cause injury to her friend, right?
Right.
But sometimes when you fool around, that happens. I mean, there's no issue that your daughter did not intentionally harm Miss Mayo's little girl. But they were fooling around, and she gave her a
tap. Yes, a bump.
And she fell. And she didn't fall afterwards. She's making up. She fell then. She didn't mean to hurt her. It wasn't an intentional thing. It was, as Crystal said when she first started, an accident. That's the way you described it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you lost your balance when she gave you that push.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Okay. That, Miss Mayo, suggests to me that you should be more than willing to contribute to the unreimbursed medical expenses that your daughter's fooling around caused. Because but for the fact that she gave her a nudge, she would not have tripped and fallen, and she would not have had this injury. Certainly, you are not entitled to pain and suffering, Miss Beverly, from the defendant, because I don't believe that this was an intentional act. I think that these two young girls were friends. I believe that in all probability, your daughter has done this booty bumping ever to other people.
Yes, ma'am.
Fortunately, nobody got hurt. Do you understand, Miss Beverly?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,083. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, they were friends and they booty bumped each other in the past.
Kids play. They play.
So I do think they were just playing around.
And sometimes accidents happen.
Yes, I did feel bad when she did get hurt.
The veins are when it get cold outside, but other than that, I'm okay.
I did not mean to hurt her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mooney versus Enslin, step forward, please.
Ian Mooney is suing his ex-girlfriend, Erin Enslin, for money owed on a lease for a Mitsubishi Eclipse. Erin says the lease is Ian's responsibility.
Mr. Mooney, this is your former girlfriend. You leased a car together. You got another car. Miss Enslin said that she would take over the lease payments on the car. She did. You broke up. She took the car with her. She drove the car for a considerable period of time. The lease was about to be up. The payoff was too much. She said, you can have the car back. I don't want it. You were forced to pay the payout on the lease, which, according to your complaint, was about $5,000. Miss Enslin says it was your car. It's your problem. That's your defense.
Yes.
When was the car leased?
October 6th of 2001, and it was leased by myself and Erin.
Okay, and how long did you drive the car together?
Until, I believe, February of 2004. Erin had found employment, and basically we agreed that I would get another car in my name, and Erin would take over the Eclipse and make the payments.
And you did that?
Yes.
For how long?
The lease was up 2006, October. I called him a few times a couple months before saying that I couldn't afford the car. It was really breaking me. So obviously there was no way I was going to be able to pay it off, and he just refused to take it off of me.
Well, but you had an agreement with him, Miss Enslin.
Yeah, as long as I'm driving the car, I'll pay for it. There were times where I called him and said, I don't want it. I don't want to drive it. It was never discussed of bringing back the lease and me paying it off.
Well, what did you expect to happen?
I'm not even on the lease.
Miss Enslin.
I'm a co-signer for the loan.
Correct.
I'm not on the title of the car. It's not my
But you are
car.
co-signer on the loan, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, you had this car in total how long, sir?
The full lease, 5 years between the two of us. Erin had said that she had no intention of keeping the car, yet I
believe she had intention of keeping the car as long as it was just like a lease. I'm speaking, Mr. Mooney. I believe that she had the intention of keeping the car and paying for it until it was no longer advantageous for her. You have a car now, Miss Enslin?
Do I have a car?
That's my question. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a car now.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Dodge Spirit.
What year?
94.
Where did you get it from?
My parents.
Your parents gave it to you as a gift?
Yes.
When did they give it to you as a gift?
October of last year.
So at about the same time that you said, I can't afford these payments anymore?
At the same time the lease was up for his car.
The same time the lease was up on a car on which you were a co-signatory?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Can I please see the payout?
This didn't become an issue until there was damage to the car, and basically she'd gone over on the mileage.
How was the car damaged? Miss Enslin, you don't know. How was the car damaged?
There's a scrape on the side of the car.
How did it happen?
I hit something with it.
Why didn't you fix it?
Because it happened right before the lease was up. And his girlfriend at the time was actually looking into buying it, and her dad owned a garage, so there was a point where we thought that they were going to fix it and buy it and just take it off of whatever she paid for it.
Who do you live with?
My boyfriend.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an assistant.
Assistant what?
Assistant to a businessman.
What kind of business?
He owns a small production company.
You mean theatrical?
No, music.
And what does your boyfriend do, Miss Enslin?
He's a writer.
And what do your parents do?
My mom works in a factory. She's an accountant. And my dad fixes the roads and works for the township.
How old are you, Miss Enslin?
25.
You have to grow up and stop being a baby. If you have a responsibility, you're supposed to take care of the responsibility. You're not supposed to stick somebody else with your responsibilities. You were going to assume the responsibility on the car until you decided it was too expensive a proposition for you to take it over after the lease. So what? You relied on your parents to treat you like a baby and buy you a car so you could get to and from work and not have to take care of this responsibility. You have to grow up, madam. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It just shows that if you make an agreement, you will be held accountable for it.
The whole thing is troubling.
I won't be so trusting.
I'm just glad it's over, and I've learned that my beauty will fade, but my dumbness will stay forever.
21-year-old Bridget Johnson is suing her ex-boyfriend, Robert Jones, for punching her in the face while she was pregnant. Bridget also claims Robert owes for their daughter's funeral expenses.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 402 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson versus Jones.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Miss Jones, according to the complaint that I've read, the defendant was your boyfriend. You became pregnant sometime in 2005.
Yes.
You broke up with the defendant and you were pregnant at the time.
Yes.
It is your claim that he assaulted you, and as a result of that assault, your baby was born prematurely and died. You want the defendant to pay for half of the baby's funeral expenses and damages for the assault.
Yes.
Mr. Jones says that you were the one who assaulted him, as a matter of fact, on the day that you broke up, that he never agreed to pay for the child's funeral expenses. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even positive that the child was his and told you that he had wanted a blood test before he assumed responsibility of the baby. That's your defense?
Yes, it is.
Okay. When did you become pregnant, Miss Johnson?
I found out I was pregnant July 22nd.
Of what year?
2005.
And were you living with Mr. Jones at the time?
Robert was staying with me along with his son because he was having arguments with his mother.
Did you move in with her in July or before that time?
I'll be staying over, you know.
You were staying over?
Yeah.
Okay. And when did you break up?
November 20th as a result of the assault.
Just listen to me. Had he slept at the house the night before?
Yes.
And the night before that?
Yes.
So tell me what happened on November the 20th.
November the 20th, I received a phone call from Rob at about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, then he hadn't been at your house 3 o'clock in the morning.
No, he was at the bars. He would frequently go to the bars and then come over to my house afterwards. And he had called me at 3 o'clock in the morning stating that he was going to come over. I ran downstairs and unlocked the door like I would usually do, and he didn't come in. So after a while, I looked out my window and saw that the car was parked and the headlights were on and the car was still running. So I laid there for a couple more minutes and then got dressed. And when I walked outside, I saw that Rob was passed out in the driver's seat. So I crawled into the passenger seat and woke him up and asked him, you know, what he was doing and why he hadn't come in the house, and he told me that he didn't know. So we were trying to get the headlights of the vehicle to turn off. They wouldn't turn off. So I suggested that we just unplug the battery. I was 5 months pregnant. I didn't want to be fighting with him. I would much rather just go to bed. He wanted me to, you know, be with him that night, and he wanted to be around me. So I stated, you know, let's just unplug the battery. We couldn't figure out the lights. So he started to proceed to back out of my driveway. I told him that he was drunk, that I didn't want to go anywhere with him. And he wasn't listening to me, so I leaned over and smacked him in the face. I went like this to the front of his face. He then looked at me, told me to do that again, and I looked at him and said, "What did you mean?" And the next thing I knew, he punched me in my face.
So first you punched him and then he punched you?
Yeah, I didn't punch him.
No, just a second. So first you punched him.
Yes.
And then he punched you?
Yes.
Okay, now I got it.
But the only reason I hit him is because he wasn't listening to me and he wouldn't stop the vehicle.
I got you.
So then my nose...
He wasn't listening to you?
Yes.
Why don't you just take the keys out of the ignition?
I didn't think of that.
You shouldn't have gotten in the car in the first place.
Yes, I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have told him to come over that evening.
That's also correct.
Knowing that he was drunk.
That is also correct.
Yes,
okay,
I agree.
Keep going.
I realized that my nose was bleeding very, very badly. So I opened the car door and I half jumped out of the car, and he kind of gave me a little push along with it because he was laughing at the time. And I ran in the house and proceeded to call my mother first. And
so you weren't too far from where the house was?
No, I live on the second house at the corner of the block, and we were at the corner of the block.
Keep going.
I called my brother, and he took me to the emergency room.
And what did they do for you there?
I first saw a police officer, and they went to arrest Rob.
That doesn't answer my question. What did they do for you in the emergency room?
At the emergency room, they took x-rays of my face, and I was having a sharp pain that was shooting from my back to my stomach. So then I was told that I had to go up to the maternity floor for monitoring on the baby.
And that was in November?
Yes.
And when was the baby born?
The baby was born in February.
February what?
7th.
How much did she weigh?
She weighed 2 pounds, 2 ounces.
And when did she pass away?
The 11th.
between November 20th and February 7th, did you see the defendant?
I saw him at the court dates.
Other than that?
No, because there was a court order for him to not be within 1,000 feet of me.
Now, when did you have this conversation with him with regard to paying for the baby's funeral expenses?
Okay, the first conversation I had with Robert was when he called me in late June after Father's Day. And I said, well, I kind of need money, you know, we should be paying for her gravestone, and I have funeral expenses that I couldn't get a grant from the state from everything. And he told me that he would give me $200 in August, and that him and his mother could save that together. I then called him on August 24th, and he told me he didn't have the money. So I said that I would pay the rest of it and that he could just pay me back. And he proceeded to say that that was fine. The next time I spoke to Robert was on September 17th when he called me and asked me if I wanted to go fishing with him with him. So I said, yeah, that I would go fishing because I wanted to speak to him about, the money.
Don't tell me why. You agreed to go fishing with him.
Yes. I knew
Is this
that.
the first time you had seen him other than the courthouse? Listen
No.
to me.
No.
Other than the court proceeding, is this the first time you saw him since November?
Otherly than court and then our daughter's birth, no.
Well, you didn't tell me about the daughter's birth.
My sister called him the morning that I was supposed to have a cesarean section. I was diagnosed with preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure, and then becomes toxic and it affects the baby's heart rate. And the first time I had high blood pressure was December 20th, and it proceeded to get worse throughout the pregnancy due to stress-related causes.
Don't tell me what it was due to, madam, unless you're a physician. Are you a physician?
No.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I called her and told her that I was going to come get my things.
What time?
2:30.
You crazy? Why would you call at 2:30 in the morning
she-
to say you were getting your things?
The bar was like right by her place.
So you had been in the bar, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bridget Johnson claims ex-boyfriend Robert Jones owes for an assault and for funeral costs for their child. Robert claims the deceased child wasn't his.
Go ahead.
My sister called him the morning that I was supposed to have the cesarean section. He showed up shortly after our daughter was born, and I asked him if it would be okay with him to go up with her to the hospital up in the cities, because we live in Mankato, and she was being airlifted to Minneapolis. He said that he would go and be with her because they didn't expect her to live past the night. The next day, I was released from the hospital, and the following morning, Robert came down from the cities and took us up to the cities where the hospital was because we weren't aware of where it was.
What do you mean he took you? How did he take you?
We followed him.
What do you mean you followed him?
My mother and sister and I followed him in a different vehicle. Him and his mother drove in their own vehicle. So when we got to the cities, he went to a basketball tournament and left us with my daughter so I could spend time with her. And then later on that evening, he came back to the hospital when I was at the hotel the following day.
I'm asking you when you spent time with him.
I didn't spend...
You didn't see him at the hospital?
No, he left as soon as he got us there. We got up to the room.
You didn't see him in the hospital is my question.
No, yes, I seen him at the hospital.
How many times did you see him in the hospital?
Just that first day.
So the baby died in February.
Yes.
Between February and September 17th when he called to go fishing, did you see him?
On occasion, out and about, at like local stores, yes.
Other than seeing him at local stores, did you have a cup of coffee with him? Did you have a sandwich with him? Did you go out to a movie with him?
No.
Is that true, sir?
It's true.
So what prompted you to call her up to go fishing on September 17th?
Actually, she called me, and I just had mentioned we were going fishing, and if she wanted to come, it was a beautiful day out. So she said, sure. So went fishing, took her home, that was it.
Go ahead. So continue with your story, madam. Here we are.
We went fishing.
We are now September 17th fishing, and he hasn't given you any money.
And when we went fishing, Robert and I took his mother to Cub Foods so that she could get milk for the house before he dropped me off at my apartment, which is about 3 blocks away from Cub Foods, which is a local grocery store.
Just keep going,
Okay.
please. I don't need a map of the town.
Okay.
Keep moving.
So after we dropped his mother off at Cub Foods, it was him and I in the vehicle, and I brought up the money, And he told me that he had bills himself that he needed to take care of. And I proceeded to leave the vehicle. And then at the powwow, I saw him and brought up the money again, and that's actually
So you
why
weren't afraid of him?
No.
No,
Not
you
when
weren't
he's
afraid.
not drinking.
No, you weren't afraid of him.
No, I'm not scared of him unless...
Why in the world, some 2 years later, are you suing him now for assault?
I just think that he owes me the money. I was emotionally distraught from the loss of my daughter.
I want to know why you didn't sue him before you went fishing with him.
I didn't want to go through the court proceedings.
Well,
and
what
everything.
prompted you now to go through a court proceeding to sue him for a punch that happened 2 years ago?
The fact that he won't pay for our daughter's funeral expenses.
Did he ever tell you that he wasn't sure that the baby was his?
No, he never told me that. And if he didn't think that the baby was his, why would he go up to the cities and sit with her?
I don't know. I'm going to find out. Tell me what happened on November 20th, Mr. Jones.
Okay, I had broken up with her earlier that day because she was real emotional, and she was kind of abusive towards me. You know, she would hit me in my chest or whatever. Kind of, she did it like she knew because I wouldn't hit her, and she knew that, you know, I'm not a violent person. I never hit a female ever in my life, and I broke up with her earlier that day.
Well, tell me about breaking up with her earlier that day.
I was actually going to play ball with my friends, which I always did, and she kind of like got emotional and started, you know, kind of like crying.
No,
she cried a lot.
Kind of like, if you remember what she said, if you remember as closely to what happened, please, I would
Well,
like
we weren't
to
getting along before this either, so on that day, I told her that it was over.
Is
And
that
later
right,
on,
madam?
No.
Before he went out to the bar that night,
Yep.
because clearly you had to unlock the door because you would lock the door, so clearly he wasn't living with you at that moment. Did he discuss with you earlier in the day on November 20th that he was not happy with the relationship?
No, he had never once tried to or attempted to tell me that he was not happy in our relationship.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, and so I called her and told her that I was going to come get my things.
What time?
This was at like about 2:30
In the morning?
in the morning.
You crazy?
The bar was like right by her place.
So you had been in the bar, Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't all like how she made it out to be.
I don't care whether you were all that. This is not an appropriate thing to do.
Yep,
To go
that's
2:30 in the morning,
yep.
to go while you're slightly inebriated, to get behind the wheel of a car and go anywhere to settle anything.
Yep.
You're supposed to wait
So,
until the morning.
okay, so I went and grabbed tried to grab my things. I told her that, you know, I just came to get my things and that it was over, and she kind of got mad because she didn't want to never break it off anyways. And prior to this, she had injured herself twice at work to get my attention. She would, oh, I'm at the emergency room, come down. And she, according to her, was in a car accident that rolled or whatever. This is all her stories, and I never had proof of anything, so.
How many times did you go to the emergency room with her prior to November 20th?
Just the day this kid was born. But after she had gotten pregnant, she told me that, like, just like weeks after I found out, she said that we got into an argument. She said she's early enough in her pregnancy where she can say somebody else is the father. And I said, well, how do I know that's not what you're doing to me? And I tried going to her first doctor's appointment, and she left me sitting out in the lobby.
Okay, got it. Did you ever tell her that you and your mother could save up $200 until August?
Yes, I did.
And that you would give her $200?
Yeah, I said that basically so she would just, you know,
I don't care why you said it.
yeah.
Did you tell her that?
Yes, I did.
Now, let's get back to November 20th. You said you were coming to pick up your things 2:30 in the morning.
Yep.
2:30 in the morning you got there, and?
She opened the door, and she didn't want me in. And I wasn't going to barge in because that's not how I am.
Fine, so?
So she basically hit me in my eye because I told her I wanted my things, and it was over. And she hit me in my eye, closed the door, looked out the window, and I said, that's fine. That's the last time you'll ever hit me. And I walked away, and I never got my things until her sister actually dropped them off at my work.
Is what you're telling me that she never got into your car?
She never did.
All right, I'd like to see the police report, please.
Yes, and I have pictures.
I'd like to see the police report, please.
If I could say something, too, there was never even a police weren't even there.
Sir, you pled guilty to 5th-degree assault, according to the plaintiff.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so? All right, so you told the police that he doesn't live with you. That's what you told the police.
I told the police that he was staying at his mother's
You
house.
told the
and-
police that you do not live together and that he stays on and off, but he lives with his mother. Who are you?
Robert Armando's mother.
Stand up, please. Your last name is?
Jones.
Miss Jones, you told the police when they came to your house on November the 20th to go downstairs and get your son. Is that right?
Right.
You told him to go downstairs and get your son because he came home drunk.
Right.
And he was passed out on the couch.
Right.
Right. And you, sir, when you were questioned by the police, you were so drunk that you denied even being over at your girlfriend's house.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know, Mr. Jones, there is absolutely no indication here, nor, I assume, do you have any medical testimony that would indicate a correlation between your baby's death 2 months after you got this black eye, because that's what it was, and the baby's illness.
No.
No. So what you're suing him for is for the simple assault of giving you a black eye and the $200 he promised you for the baby's headstone. He's not responsible with regard to any of the other baby's expenses because there is no indication that this is in fact his child. In order to do that, you either have to be married, which you are not, or you have to have a blood test, which would establish that he's the father. Then he would be responsible for half of any unrecovered expenses for the child. Since you don't have that, the only thing that you have to sue him on is his agreement that he would pay you $200 towards the child's headstone, which was really gratuitous, but he promised he would. You relied on that. That you have to pay, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Since there is no correlation between the injury to your eye and what subsequently happened to the baby, I have to examine the circumstances surrounding what happened on that day. There's no question in my mind that he was drunk, that he has no recollection of what happened that day, that he's making it up as he's going along, because he even denied to the police that he was there that day. Even your mother was disgusted with you, sir. Is that a fair statement, Ms. Jones?
Right.
And you received probation?
Nope, I just got a $500 fine.
No, he was placed on probation for 1 year.
Sir, you better start remembering things that happened to you.
I never was. I was supposed to get a probation officer. I never did.
I don't care whether you were supposed to, whether they never followed through and gave you a probation officer. Maybe you forgot. But if you were supposed to get a probation officer, it wasn't because they were giving you a probation officer for your birthday. They were giving you a probation officer because you were on
probation.
You have to learn, Mr. Jones, that there are consequences. However, Ms. Johnson, you don't get any awards for being the brightest bulb in the pack. When you're 5 months pregnant and your boyfriend calls 3 o'clock in the morning and says, I'm at a bar and I'm coming over, you lock your door and you keep it closed. You don't go outside to try to figure out how to get the lights off and disconnect his battery. Yeah. And you don't punch him in the face. But he started the problem by coming over there in the first place, which was really very stupid. And that, Mr. Jones, is going to cost you $500. So I'm issuing a judgment in the amount of $700, $200 for the baby's headstone and $500 for this 2-year-old assault. Thank you very much. That's all.
Excuse me, step out, ma'am. Wait right here.
I'm happy that I got the money for her bills, and the $700 will cover her bills.
The whole thing was pretty sad on the baby's condition and everything.
I just wish that he would have took responsibility from the beginning and that it wouldn't have to go this far.
Made some bad choices and, you know, I basically paying for my mistakes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Serrano versus Lugo. Step forward.
23-year-old Patricia Serrano is suing her former friend, Elda Lugo, for a $3,500 loan plus interest. Elda claims Patricia gave her the money from a large settlement.
Ms. Serrano, according to your complaint, the defendant is a friend of yours from high school. She ran into some financial difficulty some time ago and approached you about lending her some money.
Yes, Rich.
You were a good friend. You lent her the money, $3,500. She didn't pay you back. You want your money back.
Yes.
Ms. Lugo says that you were a good friend to her. You gave her $3,500. You would come into some money. There was never any discussion of payback. As far as she was concerned, it was a gift.
That's true. Differ.
When did you graduate from high school, Miss Lugo?
In June of 2001.
And between June of 2001 and the date of this loan or gift, which was on what date?
Last year, around August or July.
How often did you see each other?
After high school, we didn't see each other because we stopped being friends. And after she had a really bad car accident, her mom came and I started being her friend again. That's when we started.
What year?
I honestly do not recall what year she had a car accident.
What year?
It was in 2002, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about the day you approached Miss Serrano with your money troubles.
I did not approach her. I was just telling her my problems that I had with my family.
Shh, I don't... Listen, if you interrupt again, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand?
Yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just told her I was having really hard times with my parents. I was having a lot of financial problems.
What kind of financial problems were you having, Miss Lugo?
My mom stopped making the payments, so they took my car from me.
How old are you?
23.
Why was your mother making your car payments for you?
Because we're both on the loan, and I was giving her the money, and she was making the payments out of her account.
Who were you working for at the time?
Bay Cities National Bank.
So why weren't you paying the money directly?
Because that was just an arrangement that I had with my mom.
And are you saying that your mother stole your money?
I'm not saying she stole the money. I'm just saying that she wasn't making the payments, and they took the car from me.
So you're saying that if you gave your mother the money and your mother wasn't making the car payments,
She was using it for something else.
that she stole your money?
I guess.
And you told Ms. Serrano that your mother stole your money and they repossessed your car?
I told Patricia the problems that I was having with my parents and why they took my car from me.
Miss Lugo, I don't hear that that's a problem that you're having with your parents. If I believe what you're telling me, which I don't, you're telling me that your mother stole the money that you were giving her for your car loan and using it for her own purposes, and therefore they repossessed your car and you wanted to get it back.
Right.
Now, is that what you want me to believe?
That's the truth. That's exactly how everything's
When did you
always
move
been.
out of your mother's house?
Early September.
So you stayed in your mother's house another year after she stole your money?
Actually,
See
I
where I'm
went-
going? So you had more financial difficulties than just this alleged theft by your mother of your money.
I couldn't just leave my house and just leave everything, like all my parents and my sisters behind.
Well, if I were living with somebody that stole my money and as a result of that my car was repossessed, I certainly wouldn't live there.
In June, I actually drove to Vegas, and I was going to move over there with my cousin.
That's June 2006. We're still talking about 10 months that you were living with your mother, the thief, if I believe you, which
Right,
I
I
don't.
really didn't have a choice. I mean,
Okay, you're 23 years old. You always have a choice. Okay, now I'm going to get to you, Miss Serrano. Now that I'm getting the personalities in order.
Yes.
Tell me what happened when she approached you in August of 2005 about this money.
Well, she told me the story that her car had gotten repossessed.
Did she tell you how it got repossessed?
Well, she didn't give me a straight answer. I never really did get straight answers from her.
That's a lie.
Don't interrupt. Go ahead.
You know, she came to me, she said, Patty, I haven't been able to make the payments. My mom and my dad aren't helping me out. I just don't have anywhere else to go to for money.
That's not true.
And I said, well, if you need help, feel free to come to me. She said, well, thank you so much. And a couple of days later, she came to me. She said, Patty, I need to take you up on your offer. Can you lend me $3,500? And I said, sure thing, I'll write you a check. And I'm not too sure if it was a day or two later that she said, it's too much trouble to go about, with the check. I can't cash it. She even told me that her mom had found the check and was questioning her about the check.
That's not true.
Why I was giving her a check for $3,500. And she said, well, I'll give you back the check, and can you please give me $3,500 in cash? I said, wow, I'm like, okay, let me see what I can work out. And I went to the bank, withdrew $3,500 cash.
Let me see from your bank.
Yeah, it's right here. It's highlighted in yellow.
Where did you get all this money from?
I was involved in a very serious car accident in 2002, and I got a small settlement out of it.
A large settlement.
Oh, that's interesting, Miss Lugo. Did you say a large settlement? How large?
I don't know.
When you said it was a large settlement, you must know something about the settlement.
That's all she would always say. She got a large settlement. I never wanted to ask
I never
how much.
told you anything.
Shh. When did she tell you about this large settlement?
After she was recovering from her injuries.
When did you get the settlement?
Sometime in 2004.
You still have any of the money left?
Yes, I do. Some in investments.
Good. So you gave her $3,500 in cash.
Yes.
And what was the arrangement about paying you back?
She said, okay, Patty, you know I wouldn't have done this if I really didn't need it. Believe me, I'm going to have this money to you tops the end of the year when I get my bonus from the bank.
That's not true.
So I said, okay, you know what?
What part of keep quiet don't you understand?
End of the year came, I didn't see the money. She said, well, I just need a couple of more months, whatever. And I said, okay, just don't forget about it. I'm being your friend here.
When for the first time, Miss Lugo, did the plaintiff ask for this money back?
Early September.
That's a lie.
So what part don't you understand?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation when she asked you for the money back.
She started calling me at work, and she started emailing me at work.
What would she say when she called?
She was just calling me, telling me that she needed to meet me somewhere.
When did she, for the first time, ask you for the money back? Answer my question.
I believe her first email was September 7th.
That's not true.
Shh. Next time you're gone. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I assume you want me to consider giving you your money back.
Yes, please.
Then don't do it again. September 6th, and what did she say in the email? Do you have a copy of that email?
No, I don't, Your
Do you
Honor.
have a copy of the email?
Yes.
I want to see the email from September 6th.
She emailed me a promissory note that she wanted me to sign, that she saying that I owed her the money, and because
Well, he emailed her, and you said to her that you planned on giving her the money.
yeah, she was calling me at work nonstop, and she was just harassing me.
No, this has nothing to do with a response to harassment.
That's only the email that she gave you, but she didn't tell you about the phone calls that she was making to work.
I just want to see the emails. This is Wednesday, September 6th, and it's a lovely email. Absolutely lovely. You're happy for her. You're happy that she's happy. Hey, I'm not sure what's gone wrong between us again, but I really appreciate everything you have done for me and the times you've been there for me. I guess we are once again going our own separate roads. If it's the money thing, it's stopping you, don't worry. I will give it to you. Do me a favor. Please do not email me at the bank. I get in trouble for receiving personal emails.
My manager talked to me, and she was telling me that I was receiving too many personal emails. She emailed me.
Listen to me. She wants her money back.
Yeah, after she was trying to get with my boyfriend, she was trying to
That's
hook up
a
with
lie.
my boyfriend,
That is a
and I
lie.
confronted her about it. Until then is when she came back and wanted me to sign a promissory note and said that the gift that she gave me for $3,500 was then the loan.
I don't see why somebody who doesn't look like they're rolling in dough would give you $3,500 and not expect to be repaid at some point. Not necessarily in a week, not necessarily in a month or 6 months or even a year. But someday, within a reasonable period of time, when you got your act together, if you ever get your act together, she expected her money back. And to stand there at this point and say, well, she tried to get over on my boyfriend, and that wasn't right, and therefore I'm not paying her a dime, that's the wrong thing to do. It's not the moral thing to do. You want to end a relationship with her? Terrific. Do it. You're not friends anymore? You don't want to be friends anymore? Fine. But she was there for you when you needed her, and you're supposed to do the moral right thing and pay her her money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
Why did I excuse and step out?
She was calling my boyfriend nonstop, and she was asking him to go out for lunch with her.
That's a total lie. Why would I want her boyfriend?
She's been sleeping around. She's been having a long-lasting affair with a married man.
You know, it's just lies, lies, lies.
She's jealous. She's always been jealous of me ever since high school.
I definitely know not to mix business with friendship.